Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and this is my gastric bypass journey. Rumor has it that it's my 11-week update. I don't know what time is anymore, so I guess that's probably about right. So I'm going to start off by saying that this week ended absolutely crazy and we got a new puppy. I'm a first-time puppy mom and it definitely feels like I'm a first-time mom. I am exhausted. I have had barely any time to think and we're just working really hard on getting a schedule for this puppy, and so I am a little bit behind on my videos right after saying that I promised I wouldn't do another late 2-week update because I was not expecting, honestly, to get the puppy this early. I was a little out of it and there was not a lot of communication. So all of a sudden puppy was thrust upon us. That being said, it's been a lot of fun and it's been really interesting to look at my Fitbit and just see how much activity is increased. Literally just running around after this puppy. So at least if nothing else, yes, I'm exhausted. Yes, I'm having a hard time taking care of myself, but I'm getting some good steps out of it. If you're interested in my stats for this week, I'm going to throw them up here and go through it really quick. First off, my highest recorded weight was 383.3 pounds. I started my pre-op at 374 pounds, and I started surgery at 344 pounds. Last week, I weighed in at 307.6 pounds, and this week I weighed in at 301.2 pounds, which is a total of 6.4 pounds lost in the week. I was kind of wondering if the same thing would happen this week as what happened the last time I had a smaller weight loss. What seems to happen is my body kind of catches up. So a few weeks ago, I had only lost 0.8 pounds, and then I noticed that I had a pretty significant weight drop the following week. And then last week, I had only had a 0.2 pound loss. And now, again, I'm following that up with a 6.4 pound loss. So I'm seeing that it's really not worth getting discouraged over a smaller weight loss because it will make up for itself the next week. And that's something to keep in mind for everyone. I think we all have this idea, me included, that there's going to be this graph and it's just going to be this straight, really sharp line down every single week. And you're going to be losing pounds a day. And when you don't see either a sharp decrease or if you have a stall and you're not actually losing, then there's this panic mode, like, oh, it's just not going to work for me. There's not a lot of people, from what I can tell, that this just doesn't work for. There are a few people that only get a certain amount of weight loss and then they have to work really hard and have a more difficult time losing the rest of the weight. Depending on your surgery, you're really only losing 60 to 80% of your excess weight. So that's something to keep in mind. If you have 100 pounds to lose before you're in the healthy BMI range, then your excess weight is 100 pounds. After a vertical sleeve surgery, for example, you may only lose 60 pounds. And it's going to be a lot harder and a lot more work for you to lose the extra 40 pounds to lose 100 that you want to lose. But just getting surgery alone is not enough to guarantee that you're going to lose that 100 pounds total. I don't even remember why I started talking about that. This is my mommy puppy brain working right now. Just completely lost my train of thought. So anyway, recapping week 11, I have really noticed this week things on my body that aren't fitting normal anymore. And there's a couple things in particular. I have regular loose-fitting, comfortable clothes that I like to wear around the house, especially now that we have the new puppy. I've been wearing my comfy clothes and they are fitting me like bags at this point. We're actually running into an issue with the puppy because my clothes and my shirts in particular are hanging so loose and so low that he likes to bite and tug at them. And so I'm having to like tie them in knots or just choose a a t-shirt at this point and try desperately to have something that fits me a little bit snugger. I've now also noticed that all of my pants don't fit me. So where I even mentioned it in my videos a few months ago that none of my pants were fitting me, now those same pants that I was so excited to be able to button up are literally falling off of me. They're so loose, and I'm getting to the point now where I'm going to be back in the situation where I don't have any pants that I can wear, but it's the opposite problem. They're all going to be way too loose on me. I can get away with wearing a belt for a little while, but eventually at work, it's just going to look ridiculous if I just keep wearing really baggy pants. So I'm going to have to switch over to, I think, leggings and dresses, which I can kind of make look okay if they start getting flowy and things like that. The other really big thing that I'm noticing that is fitting me different are my glasses, and it's actually a problem. You're probably noticing, and you may have in the last couple of videos, that I seem to touch my glasses a lot more frequently, and it's because they are constantly sliding down my nose and I feel like I'm always having to push them up. But the biggest problem is that if I bend down or look down, they will just slide right off of my face. This is not something that I was expecting. I had to take them off today because I was playing with the puppy, and we actually had to take him to an eye exam where all of his siblings were. So we had lots of puppies and we were really getting into it and playing with them, and they just kept flying off of my face, and I had to just take them off and put them in my pocket because it was so problematic. So I'm going to go and try to see if I can get them adjusted. Worst case scenario, I'll get new frames. I am due for new frames anyway, so it's not terrible, but I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting my face to change so much that these are just super loose. And I also didn't really notice, like if I feel now, I used to have a bit of a groove on the side of my head from where my glasses sat. I never noticed how tight they were, really. And so it's just a change I wasn't expecting, and having to deal with that. It's nice. It's very nice to see those non-scale victories. We get so wrapped up in the number. And for me, my viewpoint has always been that my number is so high that I don't want to get worked up over the numbers. I have so much to lose, so much extra weight that I need to lose, that if I think about how much I've lost and how much further I have to go, it's overwhelming. And for years, see, there I do it again. For years, I have told myself I want to think of small goals. I want other things to think about other than how much weight I have to lose, because I don't want to get discouraged. It's really nice to see these things that are starting to be very obvious to me. It's starting to be super, super obvious what some of those changes are in my body, the loose fitting clothing, the glasses flying off. But now here's another one. I have permanent collarbones. I say that because I have felt my collarbones before. You know, if you shove your shoulder forward, like you can feel it popping out. And in other times in the past when I've lost a decent amount of weight, you know, I'll start to feel them again. But they are permanent now. They don't go away. They're still there. No matter what position I'm in, I can feel my bones. And that sounds silly, but for somebody who's always been so overweight that I haven't been able to feel my elbow as pointy as it is, or my collarbones sticking out, it's just a noticeable thing that is different with my body that has nothing to do with the number on the scale. So it's been pretty nice to really start to see that this week, and really start to feel like I'm swimming in my clothes, and know that there are changes going on, because I haven't been measuring myself, which I should do. But not only have I lost where my measuring tape is, I don't know, I'm lazy. So do as I say, not as I do. You should measure yourself weekly, monthly minimum. But the last thing that's been really, really noticeable this week is what I am gathering is a change in my hormones. And it's something that I was wondering if it would happen, and I'm not too happy that it's happening, but it does mean that there are major changes going on in my body. So, you know, I take it take it as it comes and deal with it as I have to. My hormones have been changing this week, and I really notice it this week because I've had a lot of changes with my period. So for a little bit of context, I am on the NuvaRing for birth control. I replace mine every 3 weeks. Typically, you have it in for 3 weeks and then you take it out for a week, and that's when you have your period. I have always had issues with an irregular period, and if I am not consistently taking birth control, if I give myself an opportunity to have a period, it will last forever sometimes. And so the solution that my doctor and I have come up with is to just keep me on continuous birth control. So I change my NuvaRing every 3 weeks, and I skip the week where I'm supposed to have a period. I say that because a week before I was supposed to change rings, so I guess at this point I'm really only 2 weeks in, my period started. And it wasn't just it started, like it came aggressively. It was way heavier than it has been in the last several years, and I was cramping and not feeling good and just overall really bloated and probably a little PMS-y and just overall not happy. Again, this was only 2 weeks into the birth control, so it really shouldn't have happened. And I was expecting when I put in the new one this week that would change. And I've noticed that although it is lighter and less crampy and uncomfortable, it's taking its sweet time to go away. So that led me to do a little bit of research on what weight loss surgery can do to your hormones and why this might be something that I'm experiencing. And it is something that people do experience. Changes in hormones, changes in their menstrual cycle, early menopause if you're a little bit older when you get the surgery. There's a lot of different things that do affect your hormones when it comes to weight loss surgery. I've read things like fat actually stores excess estrogen, and so as you're losing weight and you're losing fat, it releases extra estrogen into your system, so you might feel that kind of change. I've also read that as we're overweight, we just produce more estrogen, and as we start to wind down and our levels start to balance out a little more, we start to get a little bit more testosterone in our system that we didn't have before, and you start to feel those changes. It also plays a role with the mental health aspect that I'm always talking about. If you are having hormonal changes, especially if your hormones are not stable and you have a lot of fluctuations, you're going to feel that emotionally. You're going to feel totally different than if you were, at a stable rate and not going through this. So it's something to keep in mind when we talk about the mental health aspect of everything. It's not just about coping mechanisms and addiction and some things like that. It literally is about hormones and chemical imbalances that you go through because your body is changing, not just in losing fat, but the composition is changing. The chemicals and the hormones are changing, and you need to allow yourself the grace of going through that and let everyone around you know that those things are going to happen, and those fluctuations may mean that things are going to be unpredictable for a little bit. I talk about all these side effects, and I talk about the things to keep in mind with weight loss surgery, not because so far I haven't thought that it's the greatest thing I've ever done for myself or that I've regretted things at all, but I think it's so important to think about the big picture. For some people, these things might not be worth the trade-off. But I think for most people, especially if you're in a situation where you've been heavy your whole life and struggling for years to get control over your weight, like me, these things I would gladly trade for the issues that I had and have being so overweight. The best way to get through them and the best way to tackle these symptoms and these things that happen after surgery is to be prepared for them. Know that they may happen. Do as much research as you can and just try to prepare for how you're going to get through potential hormone changes, potential addiction transfer, changing your coping mechanisms, reevaluating your relationships with people. All of those things happen, and it's important to just be prepared. I better get the most out of this puppy nap time by getting this edited and put up on my channel as soon as possible for you guys. So I'm going to cut this one a little bit shorter. I hope it was still informative for you, and I will be back again in probably just a few days for my week 12 update. But also I have a couple of other videos in mind that I'd like to, if I can find the time, film and get up. One of those is a slang and terminology video on all the different acronyms and different things that people talk about with weight loss surgery. So if you have anything that you think would be really important to include, or anything that you've heard other people say that you're not really sure what it means, let me know in the comments and I'll try to include it in that video, because I think having a condensed version of what all this terminology is and what people mean when they have different acronyms might be helpful. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.